Hello, I'm the Accidental Bookseller. My name is Paul. Welcome to the channel. This is the second episode. Literally just finished doing the first episode, doing the booktube newbie tag questions. I thought for the second episode, which I'll post up at the same time, I'll do my first book haul, which is from High Peak Bookstore near Buxton, which I don't go to very often because it's 80 miles away and it seems a bit extravagant to go 80 miles just to visit a bookshop. So if I'm going to a gig in Manchester, I will go to the bookstore, do the 25 miles to Manchester for the gig, and then come home from the gig, and it's just a nice round trip and a nice day. So I've got two hauls to do for you today. The first haul is from a month ago when I went to an Exit North concert in Manchester. They contained the drummer from Japan, Steve Jansen. Japan were a famous band in the early 80s, containing David Sylvian. Steve Jansen is David Sylvian's brother. And then I've also got a haul from a year ago when I went to another gig, a slow dive gig, again in Manchester, where I've remembered what I bought and I just figured I'd go through them, and it gives you a broader breadth idea of this particular bookshop for you to think about visiting if you're in the Buxton area, or you're passing through. If you're going from south of England to north of England, maybe plan a stop over at this particular bookshop. It's full of discounted books. It's not the works on steroids. It's much more than that. All the books appear to be heavily curated. There is a video out there on booktube, an episode by, I think it's a guy called Bookish Dad Reads or Bookish Dad or something like that. I will post a link in the comments section. He did a video of about 20-25 minutes interviewing staff there, and you get an additional idea of the shop compared to what I'm doing now. But yeah, I highly recommend going to the bookshop. It's just nice, and you don't know what you're going to buy. You don't go there with any list in mind. Everything's a bonus. So without further ado, here's my haul. They're in a box. The first one is Toxic by Jane Hennigan. "44 years ago, the world changed. Moth eggs hatched and caterpillars leached toxic threads through the air, infecting every man with a deadly poison that killed most and turned the rest into crazed, uncontrollable killers. But women fought back. They cloistered men in dust-free facilities, kept safe from the dangers of the outside, and the world adapted once again. Now, news of a vaccine has spread. Men have the chance to rejoin society without fear of infection, but under the watchful eye of women, some of whom are against the reintegration. They soon learn that people have long memories and dread runs deep. This new world was not created for men, and they are not safe." This particular book, this was $3.99. Yeah, fancied that. Not heard of it before. This is the Question Mark by Muriel Jaeger, and it's from the Science Fiction Classics series. Very nice spines. In 1926, Muriel Jaeger, dissatisfied with the unrealistic utopian stories of H.G. Wells and Edward Bellamy, set out to explore the question mark of what a future society might look like if human nature were truthfully represented. Her hero, disgruntled office worker Guy, is pitched 200 years into a future London where each citizen is offered free education and a personal power box, granting access to communication, transportation, and entertainment. To Guy, the great challenges facing society seemed solved, but its inhabitants tell a different story of a fractured life in this supposed utopia. Preceding the publication of Huxley's Brave New World by 5 years, the question mark is a significant cornerstone in the foundation of the dystopian genre and an impressive work of literary science fiction. So yeah, I got this one because much is made of 1984, understandably, because it's a great book. But I'd also read there's a book called We by Zemyatin. I think it's Yevgeny Zemyatin, and that was written about 4 or 5 years, maybe more, before 1984. Highly similar, and doesn't get half the recognition that 1984 does. And I just figured it mentions Brave New World, and it seems quite realistic in terms of the predictions. And I thought we'll give it a go, so I did. Next one is The Tide Went Out by Charles Eric Maine. Nice spines. I've got a few of these, and by the way, that question mark book was £3.99. This was £3.99 as well. They're going to look nice on the shelf with all the spines. I know Charles Eric Maine's famous classic science fiction author. Not read anything by him before. The description is: when London journalist Philip Wade learns that his article on nuclear weapons testing has been censored by the British government, his interest turns to the attempted cover-up. Wade's investigation leads to a mysterious job offer in a newly formed government department, and here the truth of the oncoming catastrophe is revealed. The country is rife with uncertainty and distrust. Then the water levels start to drop. Originally published in 1958, this gripping apocalyptic novel poses pertinent questions about censorship and the potential for violence in the face of dwindling resources. How much of the truth is too much? Who can you really trust? And what happens when the water runs out? Very nice. This next one is Survivors by Martin Tillmans. I actually paid full price for this because in the new High Peak Bookstore, they've got a whole bookshelf dedicated to local authors, and I saw this on the shelf, and I was immediately reminded of there was a TV series called Survivors in about 2005, where some kind of disease had got out and demolished society, and there was a few survivors. It was kind of like 28 days later, but without any zombies, and that was called Survivors, and that was also a remake of a 1970s series called Survivors by Terry Nation, of which I've got the box set for. Similar principles of Survivors, and this cover kind of reminded me of that, and not just the title. And when I read the back as well, a catastrophic earthquake in China releases mutated viruses from a research institute. A global pandemic ensues and causes the breakdown of civil order. Faced with a complete failure of communications, power and water supplies, and surrounded by devastation, isolated survivors must defend themselves or attack others for the little that they have. Survivors follows the Morton family in their effort to cope, their anxieties, mistakes, and fortitude in the necessary struggle to become survivors. When the young women in the group are abducted, Tom Morton begins a desperate search through the Lake District to find his daughter Jo. Racked with guilt and self-doubt, Tom knows that the search can only end in violence, while Jo endures a solitary and hazardous trek across northern England, revealing hidden depths of resourcefulness. Both are on journeys of self-discovery. Can they truly survive in this brutal post-apocalyptic world? I've got a feeling that the TV series had a woman called Jo in it as well, so I don't know how connected, if at all. Also, because I thought, China releases mutated viruses from a research institute. I thought, it's copying from COVID. But when I looked at the copyright, 2018, so this was like 2 years before COVID, and yeah, it's just attractive in a number of ways. So I was prepared to pay full price at $9.99. Next one is The Darkest of Nights by Charles Eric Maine. another science fiction classics. A deadly plague engulfs East Asia. There's a theme here, as you can tell, of what I find interesting. A deadly plague engulfs East Asia. The rest of the world's governments look on callously until the shadow of the new virus begins to sweep across the globe. As the pandemic draws nearer to Britain, shelters are hastily constructed, but when the death toll rises and the populace finds themselves sacrificed for the sake of the elite, the cry for revolution rings out amidst the sirens. Charles Eric Main's subversive novel shows that even the heroes may succumb to brutality as humanity descends into a desperate scramble for survival. So again, this was from the 50s, so 50s or 60s, so yeah. Seems interesting. $3.99 again. Little Vampire Women by Louisa May Alcott and Lynn Messina. There's the spine. So I got this. This was $2.99, by the way. I got this because I've got. There's obviously there's different authors, and there's kind of like a something of a series of famous books being made into sort of quasi horror equivalents using the original plots of those classics. So there's Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Got three of those. There's Android Karenina, Sense and Sensibility, and Sea Monsters. I've got Henry VIII Wolfman. I've got Queen Victoria Demon Hunter. I've got a Christmas Carol and Zombies, Charles Dickens. And I saw this and I thought, well, $2.99. I mean, some of those that I've just read to you, some are good. They're of mixed quality, some others. And I thought, but just to not complete the series, because I know there's other ones about, but I couldn't resist $2.99, so hence why I got that one. Do You Believe in the Power of Rock and Roll? Or by John Robb. I think this was $4.99, but I've got a few John Robbs. I've got his book about goth music. There's a book about the Stone Roses that I've got. The book about goth is particularly good and recent. But I saw the contents here, and I think it's something of a little bit of a biography for John, and whilst also covering the cultural musical episodes of different eras. That's my perception anyway. I could be wrong, but the with chapters including Jesus and Mary Chain, Nirvana, The Fall, Stone Roses, James, Manic Street Preachers, Sonic Youth. There's a few chapters on The Cure. Einstür's Enter Neubauten. There's one on Anthony Wilson. One on Jason Orange, Noel Gallagher, Lemmy, Michael Jyer of the Swans, Bauhaus, Echo and the Bunnymen. And there's a in-depth interview on Ian Curtis and Joy Division by Peter Hook, Sleaford Mods. I mean, John Robb he writes really. There's a real quality of prose in an interesting. If you're into this sort of thing as well, so saw this and I thought I couldn't go wrong for $4.99. Another science fiction classics, The Society of Time by John Brunner. I think it's Brunner rather than Bruner. Drifting through a party celebrating 400 years since the Spanish Armada's successful invasion of Britain, Don Miguel Navarro, licentiate of the Society of Time, is shaken by the host's possession of a flawless mask from an ancient Aztec festival. Imported from the past, the discovery signals a breach in the Society's policing of time travel and imminent danger to reality itself. Today, a relic of out of time. Tomorrow, the rewriting of the course of history. In 3 groundbreaking novellas, John Brunner weaves an ingenious tale of diverging timelines and a battle for dominance over the 4th dimension. The Society of Time stories were abridged when first collected. Here, the trilogy is reprinted in full, along with two mesmerising standalone novellas, The Analyst and Father of Lies. I've not read any John Brunner, but want to. And yeah, I saw this, and again, $3.99. Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. (2023), a trilogy by the Justified Ancients of Mew Mew. You may or may not know that the Justified Ancients of Mew Mew are the KLF, Bill Drummond and Jimmy Corti. I've had this on me to buy once list on Amazon for a while. What I do with Amazon, I've got lots of different wish lists for different genres in Amazon, and it's just handy to keep them there than in a spreadsheet. I might not necessarily buy them from Amazon, but I bought this from High Peak Bookstore, so I'll just go in and delete it from that there. But it's just a good way of keeping track of things. And this has been on me wants list for ages. I've heard that it might or might not be good. I don't know, but yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a particular massive fan of the KLF, but I do appreciate Bill Drummond and Jimmy Corti's sense of art. I went to Dismaland, the Banksy's version of Disneyland at Western Supermare when that was on about 5, 6, 7 years ago, and within the art space there was this absolutely massive. It took up at least 2 normal rooms, I guess, in terms of size, of a model town at night. And that was by Jimmy Corti who done that. I guess he hadn't done it himself. He must have had help. But yeah, I just appreciate them as artists. So I just figured I've always wanted this, so I got it. And again, $3.99. Can't go wrong. Well, I guess you can, but it is only money. Shoot at the Moon by William F. Temple. $3.99. The Endeavour has made rocket ship history. With its automatic pilot and artificial gravity, anyone is qualified to fly to the moon. But the scientists who designed it did not envision the hidden dangers of lunar exploration, nor did they foresee the kind of violence that could erupt among the 5 mismatched crew members in a lonely space capsule. The Endeavour's captain, Franz Brunel of the British Space Service, has to contend with the many perils that await him on the surface of the moon. Soon a murderer is among them. 1966, this particular book. I would love to live on a moon base or Mars base or anything like that. It just really appeals. So I saw this, and I was getting the others anyway, and they're just, as I said, they're going to look great in the collection, and I think I'll enjoy reading it. So that's the book haul. That's the book haul from a month ago. So now we're on to the book haul from a year ago when I went to the Slow Dive gig, and I've got fiction and non-fiction here. So I've got to try and remember what I paid for them, but I think I can. So this one is The Empire of the Vampire by J. Christoph. I'd seen the cover of this, and I wasn't sure because this sort of cover is kind of sometimes perceived as a bit YA-ish, and I didn't really want a YA book. But then a quick look on Wikipedia showed that as he does do YA books, does J. Christoph, but this is adult. And as you can see, I'm into vampire books. I've got the whole set of Necroscopes by Brian Lumley, in my opinion, the best vampire series. There's also the Vampire the Masquerade trilogy by Robert Weinberg, which is just outstanding. So I thought I'd give this a go. This is the first in this trilogy. So yeah, I think it was either $3.99 or $4.99. I can't remember. I've got a feeling it was $4.99. Next book is Kraftwerk, Future Music from Germany by Uwe Schutter, about obviously Kraftwerk. I love pelicans in the Penguin publishing library, and that particular size. And this feels like a pelican, even though it's not got the blue colouring. And there's just a thickness of paper, and it's just a very tactile feel. And for £3, I just thought it'd be entertaining. Next one's a big meaty tome, the complete Alien collection. There's actually it's not necessarily the complete collection, because I think there's about 12 books. This is 3 of them. Tim Lebbon, James Moore, and Christopher Golden have written them. Yeah, I'd ummed and ahed about getting the individual books, because they were on. I think it was the HMV book sale when they used to do 2 for £7, and there was a couple of the Alien books there, and so I saw this, and there's 3 in one hit for £5, and I thought, you just can't go wrong, because I knew I was very likely going to be getting the individual books anyway, and so yeah, my path into the Alien world. Non-fiction. Max Tegmark, Our Mathematical Universe. I collect this particular type of orange penguin, and I'm really fascinated by things like simulation theory. I've got where's it at? Superintelligence by Nick Bostrom. He's the godfather, if you can call it that, of simulation theory. Simulation theory being that reality is within a computer program. I don't necessarily believe that sort of thing, but I do find it fascinating and interesting. And this includes like chapters on the multiverse and things like that. And it does. I looked in the index at the back, and it does mention there are entries for simulation theory. So I just figured, yeah, because I'm fascinated by the fact that lots of things in nature are governed by mathematics. So, for example, the number of leaves on trees and the design of leaves on trees, there's mathematical rules and regulations around how those are designed, and just lots of things in nature. And being an IT person and from a software testing background, I just do find it fascinating that so much in nature is mathematical, which bleeds a little bit into the theory of simulation theory as well. So I saw this for £3, and yeah. Now this one, Anno Dracula by Kim Newman. I saw this, and I thought my first thought was, wow, it's Anno Dracula by Kim Newman for £5. But then, obviously, I saw the red cover, and I thought, oh, that's nice. And then I saw signed by the author. And so it's the 30th anniversary edition. I've never read Anno Dracula, despite wanting to over the years, but just there's always been so many books, so little time. But for £4.99, I thought I've got to get it and finally read it, because it's, in my opinion, it's a bargain of bargains. I just wasn't expecting something like this signed there. It's like what I was saying, you never have any clue of the bonuses that are going to be in that shop. So yeah. And the final book from the book haul, well, I think final, but I've just got a little feeling that one of the Brett Anderson autobiographies, because he's written there's 2 parts so far, and I've just got a funny feeling that I might have bought one of the Brett Anderson books in this particular haul as well. But yeah, this last one is Set the Night on Fire by Robbie Krieger. Living, Dying, and Playing with the Doors. So when I was younger, I wasn't really into the Doors because when I was in sixth form, which was 1984 to 86, it was the trendy thing to like the Doors. So I didn't like them because that's the kind of childish thing you do sometimes. Yeah, I wouldn't say I deliberately. Yeah, I did deliberately set out to not like him. Obviously, was aware of the tunes and the more popular songs, and then in recent years, there's been some bands where you can get like the whole collection of their of the albums they produced in a box set, and I got all the Doors CDs for in a box set for 15 quid about 4 years ago, and I liked it. So yeah, so I'm curious about knowing more. I probably know quite a bit already, so I don't know how informative it'll be, but I just think it'll be interesting. So, and I think this was £3. Since I went a year ago, the £3 books seem to have become £4 with inflation. There are still the occasional £3 ones like that Little Women and Vampires book, but yeah, this was £3, which is again is a bargain if you want if you're into the Doors or you want to know about this sort of thing. So yeah, so that's High Peak Bookstore in near Buxton. Please give them a go because they're not a vast money making enterprise, and they do seem to genuinely try and curate nice popular books for very, very good prices. And it's just a nice, quaint shop. It's just really nice to spend 2 or 3 hours there. So, yeah, High Peak Bookstore. If you've enjoyed this particular video and you want to enjoy another one or endure another one, depending on how you're feeling, please click the subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. And if you've got any questions, any comments, bang them in that comments section and I will answer any at all on any subject, well, within reason. So, yeah, thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Goodbye.